Well, today we're going to install a Skunk2 throttle body on the Civic. We're just going to go step by step. We're just going to see, if there's any loopholes in the instructions or anything, which I went through them, they seem fine. But for anybody else that has problems, we're going to show you how to do it. So the tools, pretty basic. You're going to need just a simple voltmeter from Pep Boys, Radio Shack, AutoZone. This one we got from AutoZone, so real simple. You're going to need rubber mallet, maybe to tuck the throttle body loose, screwdriver, pair of pliers, pair of cutters. It's simple, basically a 12mm socket. I forgot what size this was. 6mm Allen and ratchet. Real simple tools. We'll show you. We'll explain it along the way. So right now we're gonna get on it, and start taking it apart. This cold air system that's on here, real quick. This emission hose. Try to keep all your parts in the same place. You don't want to lose anything. And then now we'll take off this cold air system and move it to the side. TPS sensor connector. Just let it hang to the side. Before we get anything crazy, we're gonna disconnect the battery just for any connection so nothing shorts out. So and then we're gonna go ahead and take off the TPS. I'm sorry, we're going to take off the throttle cable. Make this a little easier. So let's see now. Okay, we'll disconnect the TPS sensor. Get that out of the way so get all your electronics disconnected. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna disconnect the coolant hoses. So you wanna make sure the radiator, disconnect the radiator cap, make sure all the pressure's out, and then we're gonna take off the hoses. Make sure there's no pressure in there. Hope we're good. Get your pair of pliers. Go ahead and disconnect these hoses. Get that one up out of the way. And sometimes, well, we have a pan underneath the car, so basically you want to make sure you have a pan. Because some coolant or water is going to leak out, so you just want to make sure it's all good. So, okay, move that one off to the side. Okay, and then next step is we're going to get a 12mm socket. We're going to take off the 4 bolts to actually hold the throttle body on. Okay, now the throttle body is pretty much, it's kind of stuck with the gasket still. So what we do is get a rubber mallet and kind of tap it around the sides of the throttle body to try to break it loose. And the gasket may rip. May rip a little bit, but we're gonna replace it with a new one. So you just kind of want to be gentle, because if you can save the gasket on the old throttle body, that's fine. Let's see. Oh no, it's gonna snap loose. So that's okay. This off. This is your stock throttle body. So what we'll do is we'll clean up the intake manifold first, and then we'll go next to the throttle body. Okay, now let's go ahead before you get to the throttle body. We're gonna replace a hose at the factory hoses. Well, this one's not factory, it's been replaced because it has an aftermarket intake. So we're just gonna replace this whole hose from the back of the idle air control valve all the way to the front of the manifold. There's actually these 2 hoses. So we're going to take them out and replace it with just one long hose. And then what you want to do is you want to save 2 of the clips right here. You want to put them on the other hose that we're going to install. We'll get the hose that's supplied in the kit. Real simple. Give on either side, no big deal. So we'll put those on. Okay, now that we got the gasket clean, we got the coolant hose hooked up. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do the TPS sensor. A lot of people have problems with it. So what we do is we're gonna check the voltage. Well, actually not voltage, we're gonna check the ohms on it. So we can do is see, obviously this is still factory. It hasn't been cut yet, so we're gonna show you how to do that. So we wanna check that. So you wanna get a pen or a marker. We have one, a marker. You can get your, like I said, get your ohm meter. And it's real simple. You're gonna touch just the bottom 2 connections with it closed. When you touch them, actually here, I can show you this way better here. You can watch it right here. As I touch them right here, let's see. See, let's see. It's about 8. Real quick. Okay, one more time. Yeah, about 8.5. They recommend from 5. It's from 5 to 9 ohms. Some cars are different. If you don't have one, just obviously set it between 5 to 9. But what you really want to do is you want to set it exactly to factory. Whatever it reads factory, that's what you want. Write it on here somewhere, right on paper. 851. Okay, we're good. Now, you're gonna have to take off these screws right here. Basically, they're just safety screws that you can't remove. We're gonna show you how to remove them. You're just gonna cut 2 slots into it and then just get a screwdriver and remove it. So we'll show you right now. And what you can do is you're just gonna cut 2 little slots. You can use cutters, you know, a little saw, but I have this disc cutter, so. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen these. Just put it right there and you're just gonna break it loose. Bolt off, and you wanna take off the TPS sensor and you wanna try to save the gasket that's underneath it. Try not to break it. Sometimes they do break. If they do, you can use some silicone. Now we'll take off the map sensor that's on top. Our new, this is, what size is this? 60? I think 60 millimeters. So we're gonna put this one on. Put our map sensor on first. Put the O-ring on. And you put your little map sensor on there. So let's wait for some bolts right now. We're gonna remove these studs because we're not gonna use them anymore. So what you want to do is just get the 2 nuts that came off of it that you removed the throttle body with. You just put them together like that. These are the screws that come in the kit. They weren't in this kit because I put it together and I forgot to put them on. Put the gasket back on. Then you want to install, make sure this groove right here, this little stud actually sits in that little groove. You know, that's where you want it. So you just kind of match it up if you want like that and just bring it down. Real simple. Then you get 2 screws. Now, what we're going to do is now we're going to adjust the ohms back to where they're supposed to be, just how they were to factory. 648, advance a little bit more. Okay. Just got to take your time. You know, there's no rush. That's pretty good. 829. Now your throttle body is kind of complete. You have your map sensor on the bottom. You have your throttle positioning sensor on the side. And so we'll get our gasket and we're ready to put it on. We'll spray with some copper spray, anything you can find from Auto Parts Zone. Silicone, don't matter, whatever you want to use. I just put 2 of the 6 millimeter bolts on there to hold the gasket because there's no more studs on there anymore. Okay, we've got our throttle body tight. Now we're going to install the throttle cable. Then we're going to plug in our TPS sensor and our map sensor. You want to make sure your throttle cable has a little bit of play. I like to set mine kind of tight so the pedal's real sensitive. So that's good. TPS sensor. You're going to go ahead and plug in your map sensor. It's on the bottom now, not on the top. And then let's see, now we'll do our intake pipe. Install that, you should be okay. You just want to go over everything, make sure everything's fine. You know, look at your throttle cable, make sure your connections are okay, make sure all the intake pipes on. This one's actually still missing a hose clamp because now it's a bigger throttle body, so this guy needs to get a bigger throttle body clamp. So everything looks fine. We're gonna connect our battery power and check our coolant levels, and we should be okay. So. Sounds good. Well, car sounds good. You want to run for about 20-30 minutes, make sure the idle goes correctly, check your coolant level, make sure that's fine. But you just want to look it over, make sure everything's cool, but that's install. It should take you about, no more than an hour to do it. Really simple. You might have to get different hose clamps for the throttle body, depending, stock. But real simple, shouldn't take too long, and if you have any questions, just call and talk to these people here, alright? There you go, that's how you install it.